My name's Kyle Paul.
My name's Nathan Lockwood.
My name's Ben Maybury.
And my name's Ashley Wilder. The coaching session that we're going to be talking about, it was a micro session, invasion game session, and it was focused on ball handling and spatial awareness. So, what do you think were our strengths of our session?
First of all, I reckon our communication towards each other and towards the rest of the group. I think it was well explained, and I think for what it was constructed quite well.
Yeah, I think people enjoyed it. Like over the other sessions that were there, a lot of people, were a bit more motivated to take part in ours, which was really good.
I suppose one of the things is that everybody was involved in it, so obviously that kept everybody motivated to do it. And obviously they weren't stood in one grid for too long, so it was like, do this in this box and then go over to the other one.
Yeah, I think
was really good.
The feedback that we got from participants was really good, but then I think we thought we still got to go away and analyse, even though everyone's saying our strengths, what could we improve on. So we did go away, and then we made a video, didn't we, straight after the session, so we could refer back to that to come back to this discussion.
I think it's always quite good to reflect, straight after doing something, because it's fresh.
Yeah, fresh in the mind.
Yeah, me personally, I used from the Sports Coach UK, I used a TNA goal setting model, and it just helped identify strengths and weaknesses. And I found one of my strengths was probably the confidence in delivering the session, because I felt like I took too much of a forward, an important role. But one of my weaknesses then, I thought could be give someone else more of a role and work well together, because I felt like I didn't give you guys much of a chance.
That completely contrasts with the stuff that I've been looking at really, because I found that I should try and be more confident in my delivery, because it's actually quite good, whereas when I'm delivering to a set of people who I'm not really familiar with, sometimes I can be doubt my ability or doubt what I'm trying to put across.
I think you just like from the off, you started you were louder, you were more more going for it. Whereas I think when you took the lead, you were pretty much going along with what was needed to do, and it was pointless us all repeating what was said. Yeah. But reflectively, we probably could have split it up a little bit more, like said, right, you take this one half, section it to where we could have split into.
I think you can change that in planning as well. I mean, obviously we planned the session, which was good. We'll probably talk about that a bit later on, but as a plan, you could set it up into 4 subsections, so someone could leave a warm up.
That just shows that for next time we can improve on our plan.
I think talking about planning, I felt like doing the plan and paying attention to the plan like a little bit more. I felt like that added to our delivery, so it was more natural. So if we're looking at our plan, if we see our plan and we're going over it, keep making changes. If we read that a few times, come to the session, you're not stuttering and stalling, we want to do this at this time, this is how long that's going to take, this is what's next. I felt like your delivery, your personality comes through a bit more.
I mean, I think our plan's it's got a little bit of structure to it, and at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to stick to that plan.
No,
I
mean, when you're coaching, you're always doing this other thing, because new, fresh ideas come into your mind of how different participants may react to something else. So a plan is good for obviously setting the stone of what your session is about, but also adding new little bits into it is good as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, talking about adding new little bits to it, I noticed in our sessions there were a few people who might have a bit of an ego, some of the people in our class. Yeah. So I think we did well with that, because we differentiated it a little bit, because we'd split the group up. But with our winning teams in particular that were going, this is easy, we win every time. I think we changed that by making our area a little bit bigger, so they weren't winning. And then when they realised they weren't winning, it kind of brought their ego down a little bit. So it boosted as well, isn't it? Yeah, it boosted team morale.
Then we used the steps thing for that.
Yeah, we used the step model. Yeah. So, do you think that giving criticism in your coaching sessions, do you think it's a good or a bad thing? Do you think you should avoid criticism and controlling statements?
It depends the way that it comes across to you, really, or the way that it's said. I mean, sometimes criticism can be a positive thing to come away and reflect, or on the other hand, it can be really bad.
Well, it just depends on the individual, doesn't it? But I don't think as a four, from what I know of us four, I don't think we'd take criticism in a bad way.
No,
I think we take it in a reflective way, in a way to improve.
Yeah,
I think all criticism should be taken with pinch of salt, for example.
I think as a coach, getting criticism is a good thing because you're
Yeah.
always improving. But I think as a coach, giving criticism to your players,
Yeah,
I think
feedback.
you've got to understand what players you're working with. So as a coach, you've got to relate to your participants and understand their personality. Because it might be someone that's not very confident who can't take criticism, which will mean the performance dips. But someone who's full of confidence, if you give them a bit of criticism, it could boost them to perform a little bit better.
As long as it's not a type of criticism where it's going to like completely knock the confidence and make you feel like like rubbish. But
I mean, I suppose criticism, it's got to be taken open-minded, really, because the way you coach and you see things, and somebody mentions something to you, it might come across differently, and then obviously that might affect your coaching. Who knows, 5-10 years down the line, you might look back on it and think, well, hang on, why don't I do this a bit differently?
Yeah.
I think, as well, with like feedback and criticism and stuff, I think it's how you actually deliver it back to someone. If you stood there with your body language like, that was not very good, or else, that was not very good, but you can do this or this, it probably changes the perception of what you're saying.
One thing I want to do now, just on a bit of personal reflection, I think if you want to, can go around and have a bit of peer assessment as well. So obviously we've assessed ourselves, gone away and thought, how can I improve? Maybe we can give each other a little bit of feedback on how we think each other could improve. I know I would benefit from it. I don't know if you lot would.
Yeah, can do.
Yeah.
If you don't want criticism, say no.
No, I'm happy to take
Let me just get my tissues.
I know, yeah. Right. You can start with me if you want. Fire some criticism at me or areas for improvement.
For me, I'd just say, again, we've already hit on it, is the fact that you took it all yourself.
Yeah.
Not saying that was a bad thing, but it would maybe, for the rest of us to obviously improve ourselves, we may have needed more time.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, with delivering stuff, there's not wrong to be fair, but if you never know, you've learned so much off watching other people that if you maybe watch one of us, you could think, if Kyle did something a little bit different, you could be like, right, well, that is a good idea, you might adopt it in your own coaching.
Yeah, brilliant. I think I'll take
I mean, I'd say at the start, it was good that you took command of it, because obviously if nobody takes command of a session, then you're going to get a giddy group.
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about it. But
The little thing, like I'll give you all joint based on that you've just given me. Like we work well as a team, I thought, but we could work even better by. Obviously, we got together as a group. We'd not spoke to each other really that much before.
Yeah, not really. Yeah.
So it was difficult in planning because one would have to plan it or two people would have to plan it, which is difficult. We should in future all get together, and then if we feel more comfortable around each other, then during the session you could just come up to me and say, "Listen, Ash, take a back seat for a minute. I want to do this." But I know obviously because you didn't know me, you probably didn't feel.
Yeah,
you probably thought it, but you didn't feel the confidence to come over. So in future, I'm just saying, if you coach with me, feel free to just come over.
I mean, that was the first time I came across you in that session, so it was a bit.
I mean, for you two, I think you two give feedback proper good to some people. Because obviously we set it up in different sections, and you two kept going around to different groups. So,
that was definitely positive of our session, I think, because we set it up into 4 separate grids.
Yeah.
And I think we didn't intend to do it, but the grids, I noticed there was kind of ability levels. So in different grids, you'd give different advice to each grid. So there was one of us in each grid, so we could just give our own personal advice. So I felt like that had improved us all as a coach, rather than just one big session where one person's taking the lead. So we did all get a chance to have a little bit of a lead, which I thought was really good. So let me see here. So being a coach, it's said that you need 10 years of deliberate practice to become an expert. I personally don't agree with that. I don't believe that. I don't think you can be an expert at anything. I don't think there is an expert. I don't know.
There's things that always change.
I mean, for me, you can look at managers like Jose Mourinho or other managers or other top athletes and coaches, and you look at them. Look at their careers 10 years down the line, they're still not perfect, are they? I think with coaching, there's always a new learning experience around the door.
That's it.
I mean, I was looking at a study earlier which basically said that high school teachers. Obviously, if they're teaching for their profession for their whole working life, like they're not gonna just keep the session they had maybe when they were 20 to when they're like 50, for example. And it basically said that coaches always need to go on training courses and they always need to adopt new abilities.
I mean, one of the reasons why they could do that, you could argue, is that it's always fresh ideas that come through the system. So you can look at teachers that are like 30, 40, they've got all the experience, but they've not got all these new fresh ideas, so it's always good to go on these top up
you can learn
sessions.
off new people that have just got involved. You can learn off anyone, so like volunteers if you're coaching, you learn things off them. But do you think, like, as a coach, do you think you've got to be able to demonstrate exceptional performance to be perceived as an expert? Because I think that some people can't demonstrate what they can do, because some people, like Premier League clubs, first team coaches, they might not be able to demonstrate it to people, but they might be able to plan as an expert.
That comes with different coaching styles as well. Exactly. I mean, everyone's got their own different coaching style.
That's a fair point, isn't it?
I think it is. I think how well your team does, I think, determines what people see as an expert. So you might take, again, we'll take the Premier League for example. People might see Jose Mourinho as an expert because Chelsea are just fantastic. But then you might look at like Alan Pardew at Crystal Palace not doing that well, and they might think his team aren't doing well, so he's not an expert. But at the end of the day, if Alan Pardew got Chelsea's team, would he be able to do just as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously success driven, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, fans, for example, would perceive Jose Mourinho. If he lost 3 in a row, they're going to think, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
But if lost 3 in a row, they're going to think, well, it's just a bad spell. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So relating that back to our session, like someone could come into the session we had, the group of people that we had. They're not expert performers, but we could have been. No one knows if we're an expert or not, but because the performers aren't performing at the highest level, what do you think? How do you think we could demonstrate like our expertise? Like,
just I don't know if we obviously we did the plan and things. If you do it in a professional way, no matter how poor.
I reckon we just got to produce. Give out the plan, give out the session in a professional way. That's as much as we're going to get, because, like you said, at the end of the day, if the players or the athletes aren't, performing at their highest level, that's not to say that our session's not been planned well.
I think because obviously that session was more focused on children and kids, wasn't it? So if you can motivate them, they'll have a good time.
It's interesting. I only raise that issue because I think like personality makes the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Because I think as much as you might not get the best performers or athletes, but if your personality, if you're confident in what you're doing, that demonstrates a bit of expertise in knowing what you're going to deliver to them. So you might not be the best, you might not know the best coaching methods, but if you've got a plan out and you go and deliver that with confidence, someone looking from the outside might think, you know what, they look like an expert because they're delivering it, they're confident in how they're delivering it.
Well, that's exactly it. That's obviously linking back to the confidence stuff we were talking about earlier. So obviously you had a bit more confidence, which meant that you just got up and delivered the session.
Yeah.
Just going on the subject, you mentioned professionalism. I'd say that the way in the session we all dressed appropriately for it. So it did. If you've got 4 coaches and they look the part, then that's going to set the tone for your sessions.
The kit, equipment, everything was there. We weren't running around to set up. We'd set up before. We'd had a whistle. Did we have a whistle? Or?
No, we didn't have a whistle. We used to have voices.
I mean, the good thing is that we could all project our voice over the tone of the athletes, which was really good.
Going back to what we said before, because you're talking about professional, where you said like I took the lead and you kind of had a back seat, and we said that was kind of a weakness of our thing. But thinking about it now, if you see professional people, you see like going back to Jose Mourinho again. He's the lead coach. In his session, he'll have his assistant coach, and then there might be a training and conditioning coach. He'll take not a lower like professional level, just take a back seat from the coaching section. Yes, in a hierarchy. So I think that could have been a plus for us, because I think if we would have all been fighting for the delivery time and things like that, it might have reflected on our group.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it could have been a strength, but I think what we got from it is a bit more communication. So maybe an improvement.
And at the end of the day, the main aspect of the session was put across. We got across what we needed to.
Yeah.
You know, the session was done to a good standard, and you know they all got the feedback from that.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Talking about the feedback, because we've not mentioned this, we did get a few people to interview after our session, didn't we? So we could assess like what they thought were our strengths and weaknesses. And what we got from that is the strengths. Obviously, they thought it was really organised. They enjoyed the session. They thought it was fun. So I think that's a big important thing. I think everyone's got to find it fun, whether you're a professional or whether you're just someone starting out. I think your session primarily has to be fun and engaging to keep them going. But a weakness that they found was a few of the progressions. They found it a bit too easy. So that's not a big weakness because we didn't know the group before. But I think planning for future, I think differentiating it and putting maybe higher ability with a lower ability, higher ability and lower ability, mixing them in so we can give someone like a leading role. I think we can progress it a lot better now we know that our participants.
I think also time is also a big key, because obviously if we know we'd have more time, we could have used that to our advantage to
because it was only a micro session at the end of the day, so it's dead hard to understand the participants' needs first of all.
Definitely.
I mean, you can get used to it over like 5 or 10 minutes, but by the time you've done that, changing the groups, they're not going to really get much out of it. So, me personally, I feel out of our session, even though it was an unbalance of ability, I think that the participants got as much of the session out as they could, really.
Yeah. I think looking from the session, when I went away, I thought about the feedback that people give me, and I thought, how does that impact what my values are as a coach? So what do I place more input? My philosophy. What do I place more importance on as a coach? So I think if we'll go round now and list your top 3 things that are most important to you with coaching and why you're coaching, and then we can discuss that and see how that affected our session and how that could impact improve us going forward. So I'll go with my top 3 things will be creativity, fun for the participants, and giving them confidence. They're my 3 most important things.
I'd say communication, organisation, and I think fun is obviously a very key aspect.
Yeah, so like I said, when I went away, I looked more at philosophy. So mine was teaching with a sense of equality and with a touch of quality. So that's obviously quality of coaching, and then I just say fun as well.
I mean, I'd say communication's definitely got to be the key one for me. Fun / enjoyment, so the kids have got to be enjoying it, be motivated, and the other one is just demonstrations. I feel as a coach that you've got to demonstrate to kids.
Yeah.
Because I mainly work with younger children. Because I'm a football coach, so I feel that demonstrations are best for me to get it across to the kids of what I want from them, sort of thing.
I think it's interesting going around listening to that, because I think we all place a bit of importance on fun. I think we all place importance it's got to be fun, or else they're just not. It's about them engaging that. But I think noticing from it, I can see you two going down like a coach. I want to communicate this. This is my plan. I want to do this and follow this structured rule, which is your values. Which I see that, and I see me and Nathan are a little bit similar. Where it's about providing that stepping stone for them and just letting them find themselves and discover themselves. But it's interesting how we can bring all that together for one session, and that's good rather than us all having the same values. I think it showed in our session that maybe because we were split up, mine and Nathan's group might have had the chance to just go wild and go crazy, but rotated round then, if they rotated to your groups, then they'd have the structure as well. So be free on them drills, try things, but then put it into practice on your drills and try and find the most effective way, which I think
I think obviously all of our different ideas has possibly come from you know, like who we coach, what we're being coached by, and then you know, like.
Well, I think mine and Kyle's are similar because obviously we both do football, both at the similar clubs, and obviously you guys have got a slightly different look on your sort of coaching.
That's true. So it's your experience as well.
Yeah. I was going to mention that actually. I mean, because with 4 different individuals, I think one of our strengths is our understanding of different things. So we're all active coaches, so we all know what we're talking about. Yeah. We all come from different sports. I'm sure that we've all had different roles in different sports. Yeah. For example, multi-sports, football, cricket, golf. So the things that you learn off other sports, it can relate into one of the micro sessions that we have done.
Yeah,
and that's what I feel has been a strength for it. Because it's all bringing all our different traits together and all our coaching styles. Yeah. I mean, like you said about your 2 different things and our 2 different things, how they relate. One's structured and one's obviously just go out and do it yourself. I feel that for the participants, they're going to enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah. I think going back to our session and what you talked about, then you've got with being coaches in football primarily, and like I do education. I know Nathan does a bit of education. Do you think with our session, because our participants are a mixed group, so I just wondered your 2, because you might just be football players that you've coached before, having a mixed group of like sports and sporting abilities, did you find that different to coach them opposed to just one specific sport, like a multi-skills group?
To a degree I found it slightly different, because obviously there was as a coach we had different sort of aspects to look upon. Do you know what I mean? We couldn't just focus on, like with football you know what we have to do. Yeah. But with this there was a little bit more, you had to focus on people's ability a bit different, because with football you know what people's abilities are like. And like you said, we coach people that we already know, and I just think with the different sports we had to sort of widen our
It's completely different, I suppose, because it's a ball handling session. This
exactly.
So
completely opposite.
But at the same time, it's a good thing because you're stepping outside your comfort zone, I suppose.
Exactly.
Like me thinking about it, I've done that kind of session before, and I'm a bit disappointed, like in myself, because I've done that session before. Whereas if I was you 2 now thinking, you know what, I've gone and done a different session, that's another positive you can take away from it. Where I wouldn't mind now learning a football session from you, because that'd take me out of my comfort zone, and then I'd get to learn like what football players are all about.
Yeah, I think as well what you guys get for that is obviously linking back to that confidence thing. If it was out of your comfort zone, then for next time you can be like, well, I've done it before, and then then you can go away with more confidence.
Yeah. I mean, one of the key things about multi-skills is you've got all these different skills that you learn, and they can be just put into different sports.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had experience of coaching multi-sports, and I think primarily multi-sports is probably one of the things that kicks it off as kids.
Yeah.
Because they're trying all these new different games, these fun games, and then when they come to a sport like basketball, it's like, hang on, I can already bounce a ball, because in multi-sports teachers told me this.
Yeah.
And then it's like relating different things to different sports.
Multi-sports is all fundamental skills, fundamental movement skills, so it's fantastic.
Yeah. That was one of our things that we actually didn't touch on at the beginning. We was going to mention that actually, weren't we? That it's transferable. Whatever we did in our session, we can transfer that to every different sport. Spatial awareness is present in every sport. So that was one of our positives. But do you think, like, with our thing, we had different people from different sports taking part in it. Do you think the behaviour of people changes? Like, for example, footballers might have a footballing role model. Do you think their behaviour might be different, say, to like a rugby player who might be perceived as having a little bit more respect for officials and stuff? Like footballers can be a little bit.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. Yeah. I mean, it's the authority that some people get, or they can see it. I mean, as kids, they always get these footballers going up to this referee, giving him a load of stick in the face. Whereas if you compare it to other sports like rugby, it's more of a traditional man's sport. So you don't get it all.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's based on experience as well.
I found that in the session, and I didn't realise that going into the session. I didn't think that would be an important thing, so I didn't plan for that. So that could be an area for improvement. But when I went in the session, I could notice straight away the people that have been involved in sports where it includes a lot of respect. So you might have a few golfers. I know there's a few rugby players, and straight away they just got on with the drills. Bang, 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 and they were the first team to finish every time. Whereas some of the footballers, I found there was like, I know how to do this, and it was just messing about and having a laugh.
Yeah.
So I think taking that forward, maybe plan for it, but during the session it took me by surprise, so maybe crack down on that, maybe put a rugby player in each group or something, so you've got someone who's going to put their respect into each group and say, listen, let's snap on, maybe put a leader into each of the groups. I'm not saying, obviously all footballers aren't like that, but it is evident within a multi-skills group that you'll have a few prima donnas.
I mean,
as well.
do you guys find that when you're coaching? Like,
I mean,
the odd people that say, I've done this before.
I coach at a very young age, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
So I coach under sevens, so it's hard to tell. So it's more of for me, it's more of getting these multi-skill sessions into football and obviously the fun and enjoyment, but I don't know about yourself.
Well, I remember I'm only coaching girls like yourself, but they're only a young age, only like 12, so it's different, isn't it?
Well, from your under sevens, can you see, like, when I was young, if I played under sevens football, it was a lot more physical, but there was a lot more respect I felt back then. But now, do you find, like, with under sevens, because they're watching these professionals giving a bit of thing, do they think they're better than they really are? Do they think, like, is there a bit of lack of respect?
I'd say that there's a bit of an ego there. I mean, as you go up, obviously starting up under sevens, it's hard to tell. But because I work across the board in the club where I work, you can, as you go up, as the kids go older, you can see a bit of an ego and obviously a bit of an attitude. I mean, it's obviously you can obviously tell through the age groups myself that as they get older, the more
they think they know.
It's more of them coming out of the comfort zone, really.
Yeah, I think you can link how they are to their background as a person at home.
That's
really
true.
Like you can, if you've got someone at school who's who's a bit of a troublemaker, doesn't really has learning difficulties, but is aggressive.
Yeah.
That can, if they're playing for sport, they could be the best player in the world, but if they get a decision that they don't think's right, they're going to be rude to the ref or the officials. It's the individual, and how I think you can't just link it to a sport.
Yeah.
It can be a person's background.
I think it's good that you touched on that, because that takes us thinking as a coach now. That shows that we've got different roles as a coach. We're not just a coach. We're a mentor as well. We've got to find out about the personal life. We could be a friend to them. Yeah. We could be like a motivator. Try and take them away from if they're getting involved in bad things outside of sport. That might be your job. That might be your philosophy as a coach. You want to improve the personal life, not just the sporting experience, but the personal life. So you're a teacher and educator.
You want to be perceived as a role model.
That's it.
I mean, when you look at a coach, some people can look at it across as thinking you're just there to coach me football, but actually it's not just about coaching. I mean, for me personally, I don't know about you guys, but I'm probably 100 different roles from a coach.
Yeah, that's
I'm
it.
a friend, I'm a nutritionist,
Yeah.
I can be all sorts of manager.
I think it's also about showing discipline. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we can be a friend. We can show you as much, how to have fun and how to play sport in a good way. But we also show that sort of discipline, and that you've got to understand that from sport all the way up to everyday life. There is some sort of discipline.
Yeah. Disciplinarian.
I think as well, the hardest thing for a coach is probably devising how much of the time they give to each of their things, because the more you're a friend, the more that they're not going to treat you well.
Yeah, that's it. So it's prioritising again, but that's your values, and like we said before, that's your philosophy and your values. What do you want? Do you want to be a friend primarily, or do you want to be a coach? Do you want to be so? That's why we've got to think about ourselves, go away, reflect ourselves.
Yeah, and come back.
From this, I've learned things. What you guys have just taught me, what I think, that is an important thing, what Carl's just said. I'm going to take that away, and I'm going to include that into my philosophy as well. So I've learned a lot actually from this discussion.
I mean, one of your points that you mentioned, Ash, was about being about being friends. Is one of the things that we did well is we all fluctuated between the groups, so we weren't just stood still with this group.
Yeah.
Because as the groups changed, we were getting to know different people, getting to know what they're all about, which is I feel myself was really good for the session.
That's brilliant. So moving on, just to finish from this session that we've just done, what would be the main things that we would change about the session, or how would you progress the session? So doing a session next time around.
Obviously, first and foremost, it's probably just differentiate, give like a set role for doing something, or so we all get the same amount of delivery time, or have an opportunity to deliver.
When it comes to planning the session, I'd say, we need to really if we can find out who we're coaching, how many we've got, so we can plan around that.
Yeah.
I'd keep the same philosophy, and I'd keep the same idea of the ball as fundamentals, but I'd try and make it harder. Do you know what I mean? Make it a little more testing. Yeah.
So I think what we got from it is our planning. We need to work together on our planning. We need to give each other specific roles.
Delegate roles to one
another. The progression also. We know our group ability now. We can up the level. Also, we can have separate groups. So maybe one of us take a lower ability group, just focus on what they did last lesson. If they didn't perfect it last lesson,
Cool
work on that again. Yeah. But for the higher ability ones, put it into a game situation.
Maybe even mix the groups up, take them off,
split it.
Have it yourself, so there's not all one group learning the same thing. That's a good idea.
And I suppose working with lower numbers, it actually helps the kids learn a lot more. Whereas if you've got them as a big group, I feel personally just splitting a group right down the middle, saying you two have got 10, you can coach them, and we'll go and coach these 10, and then possibly change over and see. I mean, the participants are going to get a lot more from it.
Yeah. So if we just mixed ability, comparing each group, and they're getting something from a different coaching style as well. So
So just one last thing, if you could all go around and just say one thing of what you'd personally do as like an action plan. So mine would be like, increase my confidence in an uncomfortable situation.
I'd say probably the communication side. I'd say like giving it out, being loud and sort of being confident while saying what needs to be done.
I mean, one of the ones that I'd say is that my understanding of the actual session. So I'd probably go away now, and I'd look at more of things based around the TGFU style of coaching, and think about how I can incorporate things from that into my actual coaching philosophy.
Yeah, I'd just work on my progressions for the group. So I come with the idea of just doing, we're going to do this, this and this, but I found out they did them really quick and it was really easy. So maybe I'd have not just a plan A, I'd have a contingency plan as well. Or maybe put a scheme together which is 6 weeks, and if they finish week 1 in 30 minutes, go into week 2 and include that into week 1 and just keep progressing just as is necessary.
Yeah.
So, bro, good stuff.